దేశంలో సామాజిక అశాంతి పెరిగిందన్నారు ఎల్ఓపి రాహుల్ గాంధీ. మేక్ ఇన్ ఇండియాతో ఒరిగిందేమీ లేదన్నారు. దేశంలో సగం మందికి పైగా బీసీలే ఉన్నారని తెలిపారు. దేశంలో కులగణన ఎందుకు చేయట్లేదని ప్రశ్నించారు రాహుల్. తెలంగాణలో కులగణన చేసి సక్సెస్ అయ్యామని చెప్పారు. తెలంగాణలో 90% మంది వెనుకబడిన వాళ్లే ఉన్నారని తెలిపారు.
Census in Telangana, and what we have found is shocking. Almost 90% of Telangana is either Dalit, Adivasi, backward or minority. Almost 90%. And I am convinced that that is the story across the country. I am absolutely convinced that the OBC population of this country is not one less than 50%, possibly 55%. 16% are Dalits, 9% are Adivasis, 15% are minorities. Last budget, there was a photograph. You remember the photograph?
Of course.
वो मक्खन बांटने वाली, हलवा बांटने वाली फोटो. मैं हैरान हो गया कि इस बार फोटो ही हटा दी. हलवा खिलाया मगर दिखाया नहीं किसको खिला रहे.
प्लीज.
तो at the center of any new development paradigm for this country, which runs parallel with the production paradigm I spoke of, which works together with the production paradigm I spoke of, is the participation of lower castes, OBCs, Dalits, Adivasis in the wealth of this country. We have done a caste census in Telangana, and what we have found is shocking. Almost 90% of Telangana is either Dalit, Adivasi, backward or minority. Almost 90%. And I am convinced that that is the story across the country. I am absolutely convinced that the OBC population of this country is not one less than 50%, possibly 55%. 16% are Dalits, 9% are Adivasis, 15% are minorities. Last budget, there was a photograph. You remember the photograph?
Of course.
वो मक्खन बांटने वाली, हलवा बांटने वाली फोटो. मैं हैरान हो गया कि इस बार फोटो ही हटा दी. हलवा खिलाया मगर दिखाया नहीं किसको खिला रहे.
प्लीज.
तो at the center of any new development paradigm for this country, which runs parallel with the production paradigm I spoke of, which works together with the production paradigm I spoke of, is the participation of lower castes, OBCs, Dalits, Adivasis.
60 ఏళ్లలో ఎప్పుడూ లేనంతగా జీడీపీ పడిపోయిందన్నారు రాహుల్. 2014లో 15.3% ఉన్న జీడీపీ ఇప్పుడు 12.6%కి పడిపోయిందన్నారు. దేశంలో ఉత్పత్తులను చైనాకు అప్పగించారని విమర్శించారు. దేశంలో నిరుద్యోగం పెరిగిందన్నారు. ఏఐలో భారత్ కంటే చైనా 10 ఏళ్లు ముందుందన్నారు రాహుల్ గాంధీ. సాఫ్ట్వేర్ విప్లవం గేమ్ చేంజర్గా నిలుస్తుందని తెలిపారు. తయారీ అవకాశాలను పూర్తిగా వినియోగించుకోలేకపోయామన్నారు. ఉత్పత్తుల పెంపుపై భారత్ దృష్టి పెట్టాలన్నారు రాహుల్.
The first thing in front of us, and this is something I'm sure the Prime Minister would accept and pretty much everybody in this room will accept, is that even though we have grown fast, we are growing slightly slower now, but we are still growing. A universal problem that we have faced is that we have not been able to tackle the problem of unemployment. No, neither the UPA government nor today's NDA government has given a clear-cut answer to the youth of India about employment. I would agree with directionally. The Prime Minister proposed the Make in India program. I think a good idea. We saw the statues, we saw the functions, we saw the so-called investment, and the result is right in front of me. Manufacturing fell from 15.3% of GDP in 2014 to 12.6% of GDP today. That is the lowest share of manufacturing in 60 years. I'm not even blaming the Prime Minister, because I think it would not be fair to say he didn't try. I could say that the Prime Minister tried, and I think conceptually Make in India was a good idea, but it's pretty clear that he failed, because manufacturing went from 15.3% of GDP to 12.6%. So the first question that any alternative vision would answer to the youngsters of our country is, okay, what and how are we going to solve this problem? So this mobile phone, even though we are saying we make this mobile phone in India, that is not a fact. This phone is not made in India. This phone is assembled in India. All the components of this phone are made in China. The network that has produced this phone is made in China, is owned by China. So every time we use a phone, every time we wear a Chinese shirt, a Bangladeshi shirt, every time we wear a pair of Chinese sneakers, we are paying a tax to China. Because some Chinese youngster is earning a salary to make or to produce that product. So the first message I would give in a presidential address would be that India has to focus completely on production. Because if we do not focus on production and we continue to focus only on consumption, we will find that we will run huge deficits, we will increase inequality, and eventually we will run into a serious problem. I want to tell the youngsters of this country, people talk about AI. But it's important to understand that AI on its own is absolutely meaningless. Because AI operates on top of data. Without data, AI means nothing. And if we look at data today, there is one thing which is very clear. Every single piece of data that comes out of the production system in the world, the data that was used to make this phone, the data that is used to make electric cars, the data that is used to make basically all electronics on the planet today is owned by China. The idea of a completely new way of moving, a complete revolution in how things move. We would start teaching our children in schools about batteries, about electric motors, about how these things combine, about how drones, robots, electric cars are structured, how they will work together. And most important, we have to start building a production network so that we can get access to production data. Now, what would we focus on? We would not give you a laundry list. China has at least a 10-year lead on India in this space. China has been working on batteries, robots, motors, optics for the last 10 years, and we are behind. So what would our president's address say to the youngsters? We will choose critical areas in each one of these technologies, and we will start to build capabilities in those areas. The second thing we would do, we would ensure that our banking system is not captured by 2 or 3 companies that basically do not allow you to build a production system. But our banking system is open, is dynamic, and is accessible to small and medium businesses and to millions and millions of entrepreneurs who want to take part in this revolution.
బీజేపీ ఎక్కడైతే ఓడిపోతుందో అక్కడే ఓటర్లు పెరుగుతారని విమర్శించారు రాహుల్ గాంధీ. తాము ఎన్ని సలహాలు ఇచ్చినా ఎలక్షన్ కమిషన్ పట్టించుకోవట్లేదని ఆరోపించారు. మహారాష్ట్రలో బిల్డింగ్లో 7,000 ఓట్లు నమోదయ్యాయని తెలిపారు. మహారాష్ట్ర ఎన్నికల ముందు అకస్మాత్తుగా 70 లక్షల ఓటర్లు పెరిగాయని తెలిపారు. మహారాష్ట్రలో 5 నెలల్లో 70 లక్షల ఓట్లు పెరిగాయన్నారు. ఎలక్షన్ కమిషన్ పై తాము చేసిన ఆరోపణలకు కట్టుబడి ఉన్నామన్నారు రాహుల్.
The final, of course, we go back to the Constitution. This, our favorite, just like the production system is a weapon, just like Jati Jangarna is a weapon of transformation, this is what the entire architecture is built on. I remember before the elections, all of you were saying 400 par, and you were saying you would change this. And then I was glad to see that the Prime Minister walked in and then was forced to bow his head in front of the Constitution. It was a moment of pride for all Congress people that we had explained to the Prime Minister and to the whole country that no force will dare touch this. Yeah. I know that the RSS has never accepted this. Mohan Bhagwat ji has said that India didn't get independence in 1947. He has said that this constitution is meaningless. I know that that is at your heart. We will never let your dream come true. This constitution is going to rule India always. Now I want to bring to the notice of this house some data, some information about the Maharashtra election. Very simple stuff. Speaker sir, between the Lok Sabha election, which the India Alliance won, and the Vidhan Sabha election, the voting population of Himachal Pradesh was added to the voting roll of Maharashtra. Meaning the entire population of Himachal Pradesh was added to the voter rolls of Maharashtra. Please understand what I am saying. In Lok Sabha, the difference between Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha was the population of Himachal. The entire population. Almost 70 lakh new voters suddenly arrived between Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha. Now, the most interesting part, and the Prime Minister is not looking at me. Sir, Maharashtra mein more voters were added in 5 months in Maharashtra than were added in 5 years in Maharashtra. जितने 5 साल में ऐड हुए उससे ज्यादा 5 महीने में ऐड हुए, आखिरी 5 महीने में लोकसभा चुनाव के बाद. सर, एक बिल्डिंग है सर शिरडी में, एक बिल्डिंग में 7,000 नए वोटर एक बिल्डिंग में ऐड हुए सर. एक बिल्डिंग में 7,000 नए वोटर ऐड हुए सर. सर, मैं कोई आरोप नहीं लगा रहा हूं, मैं सिर्फ ये कह रहा हूं सर कि ये इसमें कुछ ना कुछ प्रॉब्लमैटिक है कि हिमाचल प्रदेश जितने बड़े वोटर्स लोकसभा के बाद जादू से आ जाते हैं. अब हम क्या कह रहे हैं, हमने इलेक्शन कमीशन से रिपीटेडली कहा है कि हम आरोप नहीं लगा रहे हैं. आप एक काम कीजिए, हमें लोकसभा की वोटर लिस्ट दे दीजिए, नेम, एड्रेस और इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली दीजिए, और विधानसभा नहीं है. स्पीकर सर, वी हैव आस्क्ड.
బీజేపీ ఎక్కడైతే ఓడిపోతారని అనుకుంటారో అక్కడ ఓటర్లు పెరుగుతారని విమర్శించారు రాహుల్ గాంధీ. తాము ఎన్ని సలహాలు ఇచ్చినా ఎలక్షన్ కమిషన్ పట్టించుకోవట్లేదని ఆరోపించారు. మహారాష్ట్రలో ఓ బిల్డింగ్లో 7,000 ఓట్లు నమోదయ్యాయని తెలిపారు. మహారాష్ట్ర ఎన్నికల ముందు అకస్మాత్తుగా 70 లక్షల ఓట్లు పెరిగాయని తెలిపారు. మహారాష్ట్రలో 5 నెలల్లో 70 లక్షల ఓట్లు పెరిగాయన్నారు. ఎలక్షన్ కమిషన్ పై తాము చేసిన ఆరోపణలకు కట్టుబడి ఉన్నామన్నారు రాహుల్.